It is Tuesday, which means it is time for another edition of Let's Talk Tuesdays. My name is BrendenPlayz. It's great to be back with you guys once again for another edition of LTT. And we didn't get that many questions this week, unfortunately. Probably one of the slower weeks in terms of questions, but we still have enough to put together a bit of a video here. So make sure you do submit your questions in the comment section down below or over at the forums, BrendenPlayz.com/forums. The link to that will be in the description down below. So you get your questions answered and we can get a bit of a discussion going here on Let's Talk Tuesday. So without further ado, we will start this video. But before we get into that, we are playing NBA 2K14. Obviously, we've played this game quite a bit on my channel over the past, and there was a request, I think, from Dynamite Jordan, I believe. He wanted me to play NBA 2K14, so I did. I was a bit stuck for what I was going to play this week, so I figured I'll just go with what he wanted. So that's exactly what we're doing here. So it's Cleveland versus Utah, and you'll probably notice that I absolutely dominate here. It's because I got the sliders on because I was trying to get a trophy at the same time. So yeah, it's just me dominating. But enjoy that. Let's get into today's first question. It comes from Bailey14. He asks, what do you think of the NXT guys competing on Raw, and do you think they got over? Well, I thought them competing on Raw was fantastic. It was very surprising. I was not expecting that at all. They didn't really announce it or anything. It was just kind of a bit of a shock, and I thought it was cool. It was a great way to promote the Takeover pay-per-view, which is obviously their whole intention there. And I don't really watch NXT, but I think I may check out the Takeover pay-per-view. You know, this has got my interest in it. I think I saw the last one. No, I might have saw the Arrival pay-per-view. I saw one of them on a special event, whatever it's called. I saw one of them from NXT. That's all I've really seen from it. You know, I kind of avoid NXT just because I want to see these guys when they get on the roster and just be all brand new and fresh to me, rather than knowing their characters, knowing what they can do. And you know, I just want a fresh, clean slate when they get on the roster, on the main roster. That's just kind of how I feel about it. But, you know, I will check out this Takeover special event. I think it's going to be pretty cool. And I really thought Adrian Neville stole the show today. Obviously, his finisher is freaking awesome. And me being someone who's never seen him compete ever, and I've seen Sami Zayn a couple of times, and obviously I've seen Tyson Kidd, and I think I've seen Tyler Breeze once or twice as well. So Neville was brand new to me. I've never seen him go before, and he was pretty impressive, I'll tell you that. You know, obviously right now I feel as though Neville, you know, I watched a backstage, you know, one of those, what do they call it, backstage fallout for Raw, and he was talking in an interview with Sami Zayn, and he's awful on the mic, I tell you that. He's absolutely dreadful. He's just yeah, he's a charisma vacuum, I tell you that. He's just terrible. But in the ring, he's great, but you know, I can't really see him going all that far unless he really improves on his mic skills. But hey, that's what NXT is for, so I don't think he's quite ready for the main roster yet. Sami Zayn, though, I think he'll get his call-up eventually. I don't know when it's going to be. I feel as though they just want to keep him on NXT because he's a bit of a draw to NXT. And they don't really have any kind of room, I guess, in the main roster right now for someone like Sami Zayn. But you never know, it could happen. Obviously, like, you look at the guys they have right now that they're not using correctly, like Cesaro and Bray Wyatt. You know, those two guys, you know, they're building up so well, and they've fallen off the bandwagon a little bit. You know, there's just an example of a couple of guys that should be getting pushed quite heavily. They're not quite getting there yet. The Shield guys, they're doing well. They've done a great job with them. But, you know, I think Sami Zayn should get a really good amount of TV time, a really good push, unlike what they're doing with Bo Dallas and Adam Rose. And Rusev's doing well, but, you know, they're struggling a little bit to get some of these NXT guys over on the main roster. So I think they should just kind of hold out until they have some room and hold out until the time is right before throwing these guys in the deep end a little bit too early, because if you throw them in there too early, you know, it's going to be a real detriment to their careers, you know, because you only get a first impression once. So you look at Adam Rose, he's done. Adam Rose is done. Like, Adam Rose is right now, the only thing that's keeping him relevant is the Bunny. And the Bunny doing the super kick on Raw and the big splash, I thought that was pretty cool. And it seems like to me they're going to put Adam Rose and the Bunny in a tag team and call them the Rosebuds or something like that. That seems to be the way they're going. And to be honest with you, that sounds pretty horrible, but it may not be the worst thing. Sadly, for the tag team division, another tag team would be nice. So that's pretty sad when you want Adam Rose and the fucking Bunny to be a tag team to kind of revive the tag team division a little bit. That's really, really sad. But yeah, so the NXT guys, just wait it out, just hold it out. But impressive showing on Raw. I would only do the NXT matches every special event, like 1 week before the special event. Don't do it every week on Raw because it will lose its appeal. Don't do it on SmackDown. Nobody will watch it. Just do it whenever there's a special event on. You know, have the NXT guys come on once every, you know, whenever a special event is on, like 3 months or something. It keeps its special appeal to it. It's still exciting. It's still new, and you get to see someone different, you know, once here and there. So, big thumbs up from me for the NXT segment. This next question comes from Gamer99112. Do you think that Batista will come back at the 2015 Royal Rumble? Well, that's very interesting, and I think it's very possible. I thought Batista would be back after SummerSlam, but it seems as though that's not going to be the case. And Batista, he said on his interview on Talk Is Jericho that he was a little bit frustrated with how WWE kind of handled his character. He's a little frustrated creatively. So I think he may just want a little bit of time to kind of, you know, I don't know, just have a bit of downtime after his big movie. Guardians of the Galaxy was a really, really good film. It's not a film that I normally would like, but I really enjoyed it, and it was a huge success. So I think Batista, might just want a little bit of downtime before he heads back to the WWE. He still wants to come back. He's expressed a lot of interest to come back, and still wants to have his big final match program with Triple H, his retirement program. So I still think he's got a lot more time to go than that. I still think he's got another solid year or two left in him. And I think the 2015 Royal Rumble is a good place to bring him back. Obviously, with the Royal Rumble, though, you have Daniel Bryan possibly coming back, and they may even hold Bad News Barrett out till then. I don't think so. I think Barrett will be back before then. I think he's going to be back and ready to go by December. So I think he'll be back and up and running before then. But obviously the Royal Rumble could have a couple of big surprises and big returns this year. So you don't want to have too many in the one night. But if Batista comes back at the Royal Rumble, I hope he doesn't win it. You know, I'm a big Batista fan. He's my favorite wrestler. But I don't want him to win the Royal Rumble 2 years in a row. And I don't think he really belongs in the main event this year. You know, he had his big main event, had a big chance last year, but I still think Batista should have a run with the title eventually. And obviously, I think the winner of the Royal Rumble this year will be Roman Reigns or Daniel Bryan. There seems to be the only two guys that I can logically see winning the Royal Rumble. Daniel Bryan is a bit of a long shot as well. So Batista coming back to the Rumble could happen, but I think WWE wouldn't mind having him back at Survivor Series. In my opinion, I personally would love to see him at Survivor Series in a match against Lesnar one-on-one. Like I've said this before on Let's Talk Tuesdays, I think Batista and Lesnar is a really, really big feud they could do, and doing it at Survivor Series will not only help the Survivor Series pay-per-view kind of restore a little bit of credibility in it, but it'll be a big program heading in towards the bit of the down period in the WWE in the year to kind of renew a bit of interest in the product. And I know I will be checking that out if they do Batista versus Lesnar in Survivor Series. I tell you what, I would be so pumped to see that. Two of my favorites going at it would be freaking awesome. But we'll have to wait and see how that all kind of pans out. The next question comes from the End of Fusion 16. Hey Brendan, do you think Randy Orton's attack on Jericho could spark the next big rivalry? I really don't know what is going on with this whole Randy Orton situation with Chris Jericho. Are they going to pull the trigger on it? Or is Randy Orton going with Roman Reigns? It's very similar to what was going on with Rusev and Mark Henry. Are Big Show and Henry going for the tag titles? Or is Rusev going to have a feud with Mark Henry? That's kind of a really kind of confusing plot hole in the WWE right now. Who's Randy Orton feuding with? Is he still feuding with Roman Reigns? Or is he feuding with Chris Jericho? What is the deal there? Obviously, Chris Jericho kind of finished his feud with Bray Wyatt tonight by being defeated at the last second by Bray Wyatt. I think Jericho dominated the match, and then the whole him jumping off the top and hurting his knee, and then Bray Wyatt just kind of getting a little bit lucky, just kind of falling out of the ring to win the match. Didn't really do a lot for Bray Wyatt, but still it's a victory, and I think Bray Wyatt was impressive. I don't know, what was their best match out of the three? That's kind of interesting. I wouldn't mind putting a poll up on my forums to see what everyone kind of thinks on that one. But I think their feud was okay, but I wasn't really blown away at all by the matches itself. I think it was just a pretty decent mid-card kind of feud. I think that Randy Orton and Jericho could be a sweet match for Night of Champions. I think that would be a match I would like to see. And you have Randy Orton beat Jericho. Jericho's obviously heading away on a Fozzy tour. You have Randy Orton beat Jericho. Randy Orton beats a big name. Randy Orton kind of gains a bit of credibility back. And then you can kind of start to push Randy Orton into the WWE World Heavyweight Championship scene, where you start to build him up for a match against Brock Lesnar. Because I think that's really the only logical route they can go with Randy Orton right now, and with the WWE World Heavyweight Championship, because Randy Orton's the biggest top name in the company behind John Cena. So once you have Lesnar be done with Cena, which, by the way, if I had a few questions asking me, do I think that Cena's going to beat Lesnar? No, I do not. I think Lesnar's going to beat Cena and hold the title for quite some time. So once he beats Cena, move him on to Lesnar. Once he beats Cena, moving on to Randy Orton. And that would also be a pretty big feud as well. You could get a couple of matches out of that and stretch it out a little bit. But as I said, in a previous Let's Talk Tuesday episode, I think that Brock Lesnar could sit out on a couple of pay-per-views and get away with it, like Hell in a Cell, even TLC. Wouldn't be surprised if they don't have him appear on those pay-per-views. But I've heard, that they have a bit of a deal worked out with Lesnar where you can work more dates and everything as well. So Randy Orton beating Jericho would be a good thing for Orton. Moving on to Lesnar, have a big Randy Orton versus Lesnar feud. We've never seen it before, I don't think, so that's something really new, and that's a bit strange to have something new and exciting come from Randy Orton. So that'd be really, really good to see, in my opinion. This one's sort of a bit of a follow-up to that question. Bailey 14, what would you rather see? A 6-man tag match at Night of Champions with Randy Orton, Rollins, and Kane versus Jericho, Reigns, and maybe a surprise return in Ambrose, or Rollins and Kane versus Reigns and Jericho. Rollins or Reigns and Kane versus Reigns and Jericho versus Orton. Well, I think the 6-man tag team match would also be a really good alternative. If you're not going to do those singles matches, I think a 6-man tag team would be pretty awesome. I think having Dean Ambrose return makes sense, and having, the only kind of plot hole I have with that is why wouldn't Jericho save Roman Reigns tonight from Randy Orton in the steel cage? And it was kind of a bit funny, like, oh, how are they going to protect, like, how are they going to get in the steel cage? Well, you just climb in the cage, why wouldn't you just climb in the cage? But yeah, Jericho could have came out tonight and saved Roman Reigns, or at least tried to. That would have set up that match perfectly. I think a 3-on-2 handicap match, and then at the last second, Roman Reigns could come out and be like, you know what, I've got some help here, and cue Dean Ambrose's music, crowd will go nuts, I'll go nuts. Be great to see Ambrose back. He hasn't been gone that long, but it feels like it's been a long time, and I kind of miss him. It's funny, I wasn't the biggest Ambrose fan. He was certainly growing on me, but now that he's gone, I'm really going, wow, I miss this guy. He was really good. I freaking want him back. So hopefully he does come back at Night of Champions, and I think a 6-man tag team match would be pretty awesome to see. And that way you can continue the feud between Ambrose and Rollins, but you don't have another singles match. You have a 6-man tag, then you could have a singles match at Hell in a Cell, and maybe you can even set it up to another tag team match at Survivor Series, like I've said many times, where you have Team Authority versus Team Reigns. So that would be something I'd really personally want to see. So hopefully they kind of build towards that. Obviously Jericho's going to be moving away and not going to be in the WWE post Night of Champions, so they probably should try to get one big match out of Jericho. So maybe Jericho versus Orton is probably the way to go. So we could see Reigns versus Rollins in a handicap match, but Dean Ambrose comes back for the save. So that could be something we'll see. Hopefully we do. I don't care really, what kind of combination you get. I think 6-man tag works well. The handicap match with Ambrose coming back works well, in my opinion, as well. So it doesn't really matter. I really don't know what direction the WWE are going in. It's kind of really confusing right now, so who knows. I wanted to answer this question last week from Bailey14, but I just didn't get around to doing it. He asks, if Shawn Michaels wasn't out of competition and was able to compete during the Attitude Era, would anything be different about the Attitude Era? Say, as would The Rock ever become a big star, or Mick Foley ever win the championship, or anything else or would everything stay the same? Well, I don't think it would stay the same. I think Shawn Michaels would still be, you know, one of the top guys in the company. Shawn Michaels putting over Austin, I think, was going to happen anyways. They were kind of grooming Austin to be the next big thing. And you look at the Attitude Era and you see, you know, the title reigns. So Austin, once he won it from Shawn Michaels, we saw the likes of Kane had a very short run. But it was really just kind of Austin, Rock, Mankind, Rock, Undertaker. And then you bring in Triple H in '99. And then, you know, it was just kind of Austin, Rock, and Mankind, you know, trading it around. And then you had Undertaker come in, Kane come in for a cup of coffee. And, you know, it was just kind of the top guys in the company just trading it around. So I don't think it would have really changed that much. I think Shawn Michaels would have had a couple more title reigns. But obviously, Rock and Austin still would have been the superstars that they are today. I think probably Shawn Michaels may have tried to hold those two guys back a little bit to keep his spot. So we could have seen a couple less title reigns from Austin and Rock, because that was the kind of guy HBK was back then. It was just all about him. But I think Shawn Michaels still would have been the top guy in the company, you know, with Rock, with Austin. So we would have seen a big Shawn Michaels versus Rock pay-per-view feud, maybe in a WrestleMania match. So that would have been something else, you know. That would have been awesome to see. But we probably would have seen a big Shawn Michaels versus Mankind feud. So, you know, we would have seen these different feuds that, you know, we didn't really get to see that much. So in that kind of, you know, respect, you know, we would have seen Shawn Michaels win the championship a couple of times, but I don't think it would have changed the complexity of the company too much. Like, would Austin be the face of the company? Yes. Would Rock still be the face of the company later on? Yes. But I think Shawn Michaels still would have been... I think Shawn Michaels probably would have stepped back into kind of like the Triple H role, where he would win the championship and be the good rival for Austin and the good rival for Rock in that era. And he'd win the championship sometimes, but he wouldn't necessarily be the vocal point of the company during that era. Final question comes from Dynamite Jordan 07. It's a quick one. Will you ever be playing custom stories on your channel? He's talking about story modes that are on WWE2K14. The answer is no, not for this game. I was thinking about it, I was contemplating it, but really, I didn't, to be honest, I didn't actually really look for any stories, but I was just kind of happy and satisfied with the content I was doing already, and there wasn't a lot of room. Like, you know, if I try to fit in a story, you know, sometimes they're 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 parts, so you try to squeeze that in a really already tight schedule, uploading schedule, and you guys are always screaming at me, more universe modes. Some people still say, like, why don't you upload more often? I upload like nearly every single day, and I don't do this full time or anything like that, so people kind of expect me to really upload every, like, 2 videos a day sometimes. It's just not practical, so doing custom stories on my channel was just not going to really fit in with the schedule I'm doing. I try to do at least 5 videos a week, and you know, that's a minimum. I would like to do 7 a week, but sometimes I just don't get around to doing it, so it just kind of would have just been on the back burner compared to my main video series like Universe Mode and GM Mode. So that's why I kind of never did it. But if there's some cool stories, and if there is actually a story mode on 2K15, still don't know, then I may check them out and I may do them. But for now, on 2K14, no plans. My plans on 2K14 are just to continue playing Universe Mode. That's the only thing that kind of interests me, and that's the only thing I want to play, because I just love it. So that will do it for today's edition of Let's Talk Tuesdays. Jeez, we went for a long time without that many questions. Hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. If you did, please leave a like on the video, and also subscribe to the channel. I would really appreciate that. If you have any suggestions on what game you would like to see in future episodes, please let me know in the comment section down below, and please leave your questions. We needed more questions this week. We were lacking a lot of questions. We had the same questions from the same guy. Thank you so much, Bailey14. He always leaves me a stack of questions every week. I really appreciate that. So if you have questions, feel free to just slam me with as many questions as you can, and you can either do it on the YouTube channel or over on the forums. Either or, I will see your questions and I'll answer what I can get to. So guys, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all next Tuesday. Continue the discussion about this video and everything to do with BrendenPlayz by using the hashtag BPZ.